Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Next Issue podcast. I was looking around because I think I have a YouTube window open. Yeah, hold on. Give me a
I'm glad
second.
you opened with that because I've got when we get into the things, I watched Penguin this week and I have thoughts on this whole
Oh,
thing.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had a show open on another window, and I was like, oh boy, gonna hear myself in 3, 2, 1, and then I started talking. But yeah, welcome, Wolfman Jack in the morning with the gang. Apparently, this is I don't get it either. So but they seem to be enjoying it, so we're just gonna go along with
Hey, Wolfman Jack was heard over 2,000 radio stations in 53 countries.
Wow, that's definitely a
That's
lot
big
more
time.
than us. Yeah, I mean, definitely a lot more reach than we have. Maybe we should. Well, I was gonna say maybe we should have him on the show, but maybe he's not around anymore.
Is he still alive? I don't know.
No,
I don't want to Google it.
no, he
I
died
don't
in
want to add.
95.
I don't want to add to the list of
Oh
things to
wow, that
Google.
long ago?
Clay,
Yeah.
did you say he passed?
Yeah, in
He said
1995.
95,
Okay.
the year Danny was born. Maybe that's why Danny looks like Wolf. Danny is Wolfman Jack reincarnated.
Reincarnated, yeah.
All right. Well, enough shenanigans. Enough screwing over. This is a serious podcast. On today's show, we are going to be. So Jeff put together for us. Jeff gave us homework that we all ended up doing last night. Because procrastination is the name of the game.
We're doing a book report on The Great Gatsby.
That's right. I just watched the movie, so
Something about eyes. I don't know.
I actually have never seen that movie. But today we're going to talk about some of our favorite comic creators, as you can probably see on our thumbnail. But before that, we have a lot, and I mean a lot of stuff to talk about from the past few weeks. So let's start off. Clay, why don't you kick us off? You got some stuff, and whenever we get to things we've all seen, we might take a second.
Okay, so I guess I'll just start with new stuff I watched. Shudder has been curating their Friday nights and having like a live event, basically just a live movie for everyone to kind of tweet along with. And last week was their first one, and it was a movie called In a Violent Nature. And it is incredible for horror fans because this is the story told from the perspective of the killer. And so if you're following him and he's just chasing you and he's just walking, the camera is behind him. And at times it almost looks like a video game because he's doing the slow chase. And it just builds the tension. It's just really fun to watch the killer go after everyone as like maybe they're making plans off and he's watching what's happening. So like it just inverts everything that you've enjoyed about like Friday the 13th and stuff and put it into this.
How much of like sharpening chainsaws and knives? How much like weapon care do we get throughout the movie?
There's some weapon care, but like he switches it up because he doesn't have to have weapons. But it is a slasher, so but there are inventive deaths. That it's fun.
Nice.
On Apple, I started Foundation, which is insane because it is such a dense show that if you like blink, you miss so much story. And so you kind of have to watch it back to back. And I've watched like the first season or almost the first season, but then I got sick. And now I'm like going, what happened in that show? Like if I go back, will I be able to remember that much continuity? It's fun. I read Foundations as a kid, so this is a great adaptation of that book, and they have great actors in it. Lee Pace, he just rocks. I mean, he's really good.
He's so good.
But it's the story of someone who studies the history of man to the point that it can predict what's going to happen, and how that information is it transferred through generations to the point, because the leaders believe that this is just heresy, that they're just talking against the powerful, because they bring peace, and the person who's in power is so powerful that they clone themselves, and they keep 3 distinct clones: a child, an adult, and an old man. And Lee Pace always plays the middle clone. So it's cool to see, as the generations move on, that he plays different versions of basically a clone of this one person who started everything, who brought about the peace. But like I said, it is incredibly dense, but it's great science fiction, and it's like hard sci-fi that if you haven't gotten that in a long time, it's worth investing time in to watch it. It's fun. And then I watched the weirdest movie called Biosphere. Oh my God, who are those brothers that do movies together?
Coen Brothers?
No, not Cohen or Farley, but on The League.
On The League?
The ones that directed Avengers. No,
The
we're just gonna go through all the brothers.
Oh, the Duplass brothers.
The Duplass brothers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is a Duplass brothers film. And the concept is just 2 men in a biosphere, and you get the idea that the world has ended, and maybe one of them is the president and one was like on his staff, but they're like really good friends, and they've been friends for a long time. And during existing in the biosphere, I don't know if I should give this away because it's kind of a big part of the deal, but it's really more about them dealing with the idea. They have a moment where some fish die, and they're like, we're going to run out of fish. And then, because they only have 2 males, but one of the males turns into a female, and they're like, oh my God, like fucking Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Then one of the males turns into a female, the human.
Oh my.
So that's all I'm going to tell you. That it was different. If you like the Duplass brothers, I don't know. I mean, it's not anything like Creep or I'm trying to remember the other one he did with Elizabeth Moss. There's one he did with Elizabeth Moss that's probably my favorite. Or the time travel one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm off my game on that, but Biosphere, it just puts out weird questions of like existence and change and adaptation. And that's what that movie's about. And then I watched just a funnier version of that, just called Evolution. The 1995
With,
David Duchovny, Sean William Scott, and Orlando Jones.
X-Files guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just that still is great and funny. Ethan Suplee's in it. I forgot he's in that.
Oh, I forgot he's in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and isn't there also a comedy from like the 90s that's like Biosphere, and it has
Biodome?
Biodome.
Yeah. All right.
The Pauly Shore vehicle.
Pauly Shore. I knew it was something like that. So.
You sure it wasn't a Stephen Baldwin vehicle?
It may have been. He was everywhere in the late 90s.
Is that your drive-in double feature? Biodome and Biosphere?
Oh God, that would be a weird one. I definitely would rather watch.
Probably Biodome and Evolution would make more sense.
Yeah, that would make more sense. That'd be more fun.
Yeah. I liked Evolution. I remember it got weird, and I was like, oh, this is the X-Files guy, even though I've never seen the X-Files. So, like, yeah.
Ivan Reitman wanted this to be kind of the new franchise like Ghostbusters. This was going to be Alien Hunters instead of Ghostbusters,
Right.
And it just turned into a cartoon and never went anywhere else. So
interesting. Maybe because Duchovny went to Californication and
yeah.
So he switched gears hard. Unless did he ever like get with the aliens on X-Files? Maybe it's not that far off.
Well,
I don't remember.
I thought Scully had an alien baby. Wasn't she like?
She
did have an alien baby?
Yeah.
I thought that was V.
And well,
I feel like she was at least abducted at some point. I just remember a scene in a grocery store where she has pulled something out of her nose, like a little metal thing, and she runs it over the scanner, and it like starts doing all this data, and she's like, "Oh shit! Like, what happened to me?" So, anyway, wow, that's fast.
Yeah. Fox was just abducted as a kid, or no, his brother was.
No, sister.
God, I need to rewatch. All right. We did a whole She-Hulk rewatch, and it's just still funny and hilarious. I mean, that's like a day binge watch.
Yeah, that show is so great.
She-Wolf also sounds interesting. If there's a show out there called She-Wolf,
that would be good. It's the upcoming Disney Plus sequel.
Does anyone remember the movie Used Cars with Kurt Russell?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Rewatch this weekend. What a weird picture of America in 1978. I think it's 1978. And it is just, and this is like, I think supposed to be like a family comedy, but it's like a satire of America through the used car system. And it is top notch Kurt Russell, hilarious. And just kind of, and like, this is like a couple of years before he'd even become Snake Plissken and be in Big Trouble in Little China. So it's just off the rails, weird. Like, I can't believe this was a movie that was made.
That would be a good double feature with Cadillac Man, with Robin Williams and Tim Robbins.
And what's weird is like the story is from Steven Spielberg and John Milius.
Really?
Yeah, because they knew used car dealers, and so they wanted to write this story about these dueling car dealers. So they got Jack Warden signed up to play twins in this, and John Candy was supposed to be in it, but he was shooting 1941. Spielberg was doing 1941 at the same time as Used Cars was doing it. So, and they had overlapping actors that they used. But man, this movie is just wild. I kind of loved it.
Nice.
Who watched Penguin? Do we want to talk about Penguin now?
We can.
Why was it so perfect? Why was it so perfect?
Quick question before we dive into that one. Now, did you guys are you more hooked on Penguin or Agatha? I just want a quick show of hands.
I need to start both.
Oh gosh,
I haven't gotten either.
Okay.
Apples and oranges,
they're
man.
So they're so completely different.
Yeah.
I got a crime show and a magic show, but in a superhero world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Agatha tickles what I like more than what the Penguin does, but that doesn't dismiss. Like, I really like the Penguin as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to. I need some clickbait. So,
why
Jeff
not
hates
enjoy
Penguin.
both?
Yeah.
What in 2024?
Okay.
Well, okay. So I'll get into what I was teased earlier. Not to overtake Clay, but because there's one thing that bugged me about the Penguin, and it kind of bugs me about this whole Matt Reeves Batman universe, which is that they drive it so hard into reality. Sometimes some of the things they do, I'm like, well, this doesn't make sense in a real world. So like when you showed the clip of Batman leading a bunch of people out of the stadium after the Riddler has set off all the in the Batman movie, trying to rescue everybody, I'm putting myself in that scenario, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm safer in the water with the electricity or following the man in the rubber suit.
Well,
like,
you got to remember.
I need when they start building these super hyper realistic worlds that have Batman in them, I need them to be like, well, do they have like Tarzan in this world? Like, not does Tarzan exist, but is there pop culture that says the man in the costume might be a good guy? Or am I just like thinking, is this another crazy person? Like, I'm not going to follow the crazy person if I'm in that scenario.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the Penguin, they show all this kind of newsreel footage of like late night Gotham news, local news that kind of catches you up as to what happened in the Batman movie and where we are. That's setting the framework for this Penguin show. And they're talking about these mob bosses and crime bosses, and I'm like, this is all libel. Like, this news station is going to get sued underground if I were these mobsters. I'm like, why are you calling me a mobster on your television show? Like, my uncle was accused of racketeering. Yes, he's evil, but our family is not evil, and now I'm going to sue you. And I'm just like, they little things like that in a hyper realistic situation. I'm like, this would not work. That's not. I get what you're saying narratively, but like, do it better, you know?
Yeah, but like in the same way, I would say Falcone is equal to Gotti in our world. I mean, Gotti was always referred to as like the Teflon Don. I mean, so he had earned a criminal name.
Yeah, but I think that's in like, I feel like we get that in like documentaries, or like it's not, they don't say it on the news. Like, they don't, like, you don't hear, you know, Peter Muir going, Teflon Don was, you know, or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, like, you can get away with that like in an op-ed piece, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly.
But to your point, these are not all like editorials happening as you're getting the clips, right? So
maybe that news report is just like some Breitbart Alex Jones type of
inside edition
playing on the TV where they don't care about that live voice.
Jameson.
Yeah, it's not the news. It's not the news. Really, it's just like some YouTube stream going on.
It's like a Newsmaxy kind of.
Also,
I can live with that.
To your earlier point, if the mayor-elect is following the man in the rubber suit with the flare, I'm also going to follow the man in the rubber suit with the flare to get to safety.
I mean, you say that, but look at who's running for president. So,
well, but it feels like that was the mayor-elect that I would probably also elect.
Okay.
So, okay, Clay, back to your thoughts on the Penguin. Not too spoilery.
I would not follow the guy that's yelling, I hate Taylor Swift in the flood. I would not follow that guy at all. Penguin, I thought was an incredible setup. Like, the pilot is perfect. It gives you everything you need to know about Oswald. Plus, they did change his name from Cobblepot to Cobb, because I had read that they thought Cobblepot was so comic booky.
Also in the show, I mean, in the Matt Reeves universe, he's like, he doesn't come from a wealthy family, right?
Right, he comes from poverty.
It wouldn't make that much sense to call him. I mean, that he would have a name like Cobblepot.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So
does he come from wealth in the comics?
Yeah. Paul Rubens was his dad, so.
Well, that's the Batman. Well, that's the Tim Burton. So I was watching some YouTuber review Batman Caped Crusader, and in that first episode, they have the Penguin who is gender swapped, and but she's basically the mob boss version of the Penguin also. And this YouTuber was like, I couldn't get into it, but her thing was like, I'm only familiar with the Danny DeVito Penguin, who is just this crazy monster, you know, like also kind of a mob boss, but more of a you know, there were more circus people, not mob crime.
He's a mob boss, but only if the mob is penguins.
Right.
Yeah.
But it got me to thinking, like, if you don't like, there's not a whole lot of like big penguin like comic stories that are well known, and so if your only like idea of the Penguin is Danny DeVito, or, you know, I don't know, Burgess Meredith.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the Penguin's kind of open game to do whatever you want with them, honestly.
Now, can we take a second to appreciate Christian Milotti as Sophia Falcone? Because every scene that she was in, I was a little scared.
Yes. She is so scary.
She's great.
Why is she not in more stuff? Like, like every time she's in something, she's great, and I feel like
Fargo.
I feel like
Check her out in Fargo.
I feel like How I Met Your Mother tainted her career.
Palm Springs. She.
Is that where it went wrong?
Yeah, I think it's really hard to go up against like Andy Samberg, and yet she just carries that movie. Like,
yeah, exactly. She's so great in that.
Yeah,
she's great in everything.
Andy Samberg.
She is perfect in this because every scene she's in, you can't not watch her, and you're scared for everyone in the room when she talks. Nice. Like there's this fear that she's gonna instantly just cut somebody.
Yeah, it's great. I like I got a little bit of a Training Day feel for it with the kid. Which was fun.
I do like how it's basically a post-crisis like Batman and Robin thing.
Yeah,
like where Batman walks up on Jason Todd trying to steal the Batman the tire.
Yeah,
and then Penguin walks up on this kid.
Yeah, so great show. I recommend it. We'll probably talk more about it later on once Josh also has a chance to catch up with it.
Look, I just have to give you guys kudos. I had zero desire to watch this show, and now I'm intrigued. So, and that's
it. It is a fascinating look at the mind of Oswald in the first, because he is a guy who even says like I'm a preferred taste when he's talking to the mob boss. You know, I'm not exactly your guy, but I'm the guy that'll do the job. And you also get to find out what this guy's like, what are his triggers, the fact that somebody would laugh at him, what his mom thinks of him, how his mom makes him feel, and it's fascinating. And the fact that he could take a kid and basically hold him hostage, and by the end of the day be like, well, we're friends now. You know,
but like a mentor. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Instead of like Stockholm syndrome, like it's reverse in the fact that he like kidnaps this kid and basically holds his life in his hands, but then says like, hey, you know, I'm going to take you to go visit my mom, but don't be a dick, you know, just like, we're going to be bros.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the guy kind of comes through with it because he has no recourse but to.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, there are pieces of this so good.
And that purple Maserati, I mean, geez, Lou.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, so that good. plum Maserati.
Plum.
I love that he corrects her, because you feel like nobody corrects her.
Yeah.
Did anybody read
real quick
the Tom King Penguin? Oh, sorry.
Not yet. It's on my list.
Yeah,
Leonard Kim prefers Agatha, so we could transition over to Agatha, episode 1 and 2. Once again, no spoilies.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't started that either.
Jeff,
can we talk about the look?
Yeah.
Because the first episode. Go ahead.
What were you saying? The look.
Yeah, go ahead,
Jeff.
Jeff.
I'll go. I loved it. There was something about it. It does the same trick as WandaVision, where it's like you start off with kind of a show within a show, but that it does not last nearly as long as WandaVision, because we get out of it by the end of the first issue, our first episode. Everybody is fantastic. I think just chewing up the scenery. Once the show gets going, then everybody starts having fun. Catherine Hahn is so much fun to watch. So is Aubrey Plaza. Gosh, I'm blanking on all their, like every single one of them is just like
Sashir Zameda.
Yeah, Shasir Zameda and the Broadway actress woman,
Patty LuPone.
Patty LuPone. Yeah.
Patty LuPone. Yes.
Oh wow.
Apologies to Patty LuPone for forgetting her name. She would kill me in real life. But everybody's just like they're giving it. They're having so much fun. It looks like it's so much fun, because it doesn't play a lot with the superhero stuff. You kind of, you know, find out where we are within the Marvel universe, and then they kind of do their own little thing. There are plenty of nods to like Oz and other little witch things as you can see peppered throughout the show. It just looks like it's going to be a super fun show. And like I love how everybody's just a little bit catty with one another. Like it's so much fun to watch them. The dialogue back and forth. I really enjoy it. It's a much more like Penguin's super dramatic and good. This is a much more fun show to watch.
Yeah, lighthearted for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Clay.
I don't know about lighthearted though, because they did take like 3 years of Agatha's life and put her into suburbia. Like she does lose part of her life during this first episode, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess the
yeah.
tone of it compared to Penguin.
Okay.
More than the story. But I will say it made me want to check out Mayor of Easttown, which is one of the shows they were aping.
Yeah.
Because I've seen True Detective some of the seasons, so like I got those nods right away. But when I was watching stuff on YouTube, like people were like, "Yeah, this is Mayor of Easttown, like the Kate Winslet character," and I was like, "Oh, I kind of want to see that." It gave me a lot of the latest season of True Detective, the Jodie Foster cop too, like
yeah,
right. So, but like to
really
be
good,
so heightened that it was funny, right? Like it went past just the seriousness, and then it kind of kept going to the funny. So, but
now, who did you feel like? Aubrey Plaza comes into the story, and she has a look.
Mm-hmm.
Do y'all feel like that came from like Rizzoli and Isles? Because I feel like her specific kind of pop look was pulled from that show. Am I wrong?
Man, I watch a lot of.
I get it.
Yeah,
I can see it.
Yeah,
FBI agents all look like that. I think in most of the procedural.
If they all look like that, sign me up.
I know. Yeah, why am I not working for the FBI?
Aubrey Plaza is great because every scene she's in, like you kind of just want to watch her and Catherine Hahn play back and forth.
Yeah.
Well, they said things like this is they definitely have chemistry together on the thing. There's definitely a sexual tension happening between them. There's also like from all the lightheartedness, but there you can tell that they're like, oh, when we need to be scary, we're gonna push scary. Like, and they kind of like peppered it in a little bit, but I can see them as the show progresses more and more towards Halloween in real life, that the episodes would get progressively creepier as we go along into the Witch's Road.
How long is this season? Like, is it going up to Halloween?
Yeah, the last episode drops on Halloween.
Okay.
So they drop 2, then the last 2 drop the day before Halloween. Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious. And so have they confirmed Aubrey Plaza's not playing her Legion character?
They haven't.
Oh, they haven't confirmed anything. I don't think.
But I don't think we don't know much about that character. Like, even the name is not something that they pulled from a comic book, because all the other witches can be traced back to characters in the comics.
Okay.
From what I've seen,
I would really love for them to like somehow do a twist and pull Legion, because that was an FX show, right? So so pull that into the MCU now. Like that'd be amazing. Because I mean, that show is so good.
It's kind of the same universe that they pulled that Pietro from, right? Kind of like.
Oh shit, you're right.
Jason, that's kind of
The Ralph Boner could also have brought along the could have brought along the Shadow King, which would be a weird thing to experiment with on this show, but I mean, I won't complain.
I'm gonna start Googling Agatha Shadow King.
All the crossover stuff has always been discussed kind of scientifically, like dimensional and stuff, but like now we have kind of a magical element. And all Aubrey Plaza's character ever says is, "Don't you remember why you hate me?" Like there's this element we don't know about their relationship that I'm sure we're going to discover during the show, but that's the way it's worded to her.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's great stuff. I really enjoyed both. Clay, was that your last thing? Because I can roll into mine.
Yeah.
Okay, at least for watching. We'll talk about comics in a sec.
Yeah.
I just can't believe that in a 24-hour period this week, I watched, I guess, almost 24 hours, maybe a little bit longer. Because we got Agatha on Wednesday night or Tuesday night. Wednesday night, right? When did Agatha premiere?
I think it was Wednesday.
Wednesday.
I think it was
Wednesday. Because it dropped at 8 o'clock.
So Agatha on Wednesday, and then on Thursday I watched the Rings of Power, and then at night I watched the Penguin, and then the next day, so I guess in a 48-hour span, and then I woke up to the Zack Snyder Twilight of the Gods show. So like, holy shit, what a weekend! And it's all been pretty great. I
ranked them.
I don't normally binge shows, but I did watch. We got Carlos. El Pingüino was pretty good. It sure was. I don't normally binge shows, but the Twilight of the Gods is such a cool animated thing. I really, really enjoyed it. And then, like, obviously Zack Snyder is part of it, but like Jay Oliva, who's been doing a lot of the DC animated stuff for years, like he was a part of that too, bringing that story to life. And then you got the Norse mythology, you got violence, you got a lot more sex than I thought. Like there's dongs all over the place. I thought I was watching Watchmen again.
Zack Snyder will dong you. He will dong you out of nowhere.
Hang on, there's only one dong in Watchmen, but it's the most important dong. All right,
it's dong. But yeah, it's really good. I really, really enjoyed it. It's 8 episodes, but they're like 30 minutes each, except for the last one. The last one's extra long. And I like what they set up because it's a little bit of a twist and turn on the Norse mythology you may be used to just from watching the MCU, especially. We get to focus a little bit more on Loki and some of the other characters associated with him in their, I guess, real world roles, right? We see like Hela's his daughter, Fenrir, the wolf, is also related to Loki, but like it's not rearranged kind of like the comics. So it's really fun, really violent, gory, and I really liked it. I think my only complaint was some of the voice performances were not. Once I got used to them by the second or third episode, it didn't bother me as much. But yes, at the beginning, I feel like some of the minor roles were people that maybe did not have as much experience. I don't know. So highly recommend it if you need something to watch on Netflix. And then since I was already on Netflix, I watched a new cooking show called Culinary Class Wars. It is super intense. Like it's like a high stakes show where they bring in 80 chefs, and it's a Korean show. So, but I'm watching it like they dub it, and it's actually really well done. But it's like this giant stadium. It almost feels like they wanted to get a Squid Games vibe of the set. But obviously they're just cooking, right? There's no, like, they're not, as far as I know, no one's dying in this kitchen. But yeah, right. Well, at least for now. But yeah,
right.
Like that's why I was telling Josh I went to sleep late, is because I couldn't stop watching the show. Because they end the episode with like a big decision going into the next one. So
what is the premise? It sounds like it's like one chef cooks spam and the other one's filet mignon, and you
kind of spoiling greener people.
It's yeah. It's not. They don't go that far, but
all right, good.
They bring in 100 chefs. 20 of them are like kind of renowned chefs, what they call the white spoons, and then they bring 80 chefs that are not as renowned, but they're still like they're kind of from all over the place. But most of them are professionals, but they call them the black spoons. So it's kind of like, racist. Can we take the best of these? Yeah, can we take of these, like underrated chefs and pit them up against these masters, and then see, so it is kind of like, yeah.
Okay.
Jeff,
I mean, it's Danny's words. Danny's words calling the white spoons the masters.
Listen, I didn't come up
and
with
the spoons of color. The poor spoons of color.
But you want me to? So the closed captioning called them dirty spoons, and I was not going to call them that.
This is Donald Trump's favorite show.
That's awful.
But it is kind of like based on like it is trying to evoke that caste system of like cooking.
Yeah.
Like so, and then of course the judges are like these Michelin star like when they walked in, everybody was like, "Oh, it's that guy! Like we call him the master of Korean cuisine or whatever." So, yeah, it's really fun though. It's really interesting, man. I've been getting into more Korean shows, and they do some really good stuff. So I'll let you guys know more.
Have you watched all the episodes?
No, I'm on like 3 because they're long. They're like an hour plus each.
Oh wow!
And I just started yesterday when I finally ran out of genre stuff to watch. I think that's all I watched because did I watch any? I don't think I watched any new movies. Because I did talk about Little Women last week, so we're all caught up there. Little Women. Oh yeah,
Which version?
Here. Oh, the 2019 version, the Greta Gerwig movie.
Okay, yeah.
It's fantastic. Like I love that movie so much. But Clay won't like it because Timothée Chalamet's in it. So
he's the littlest woman.
But it's really good. All right, Josh. Let's go to you, and then we'll go to Jeff to kind of bring us into comics afterwards.
All right. Yeah. I actually have some stuff I've watched, which is shocking. It's been a good week for new and returning shows. So we started watching the new season of Frasier last night, and I feel like it's hitting its stride now that it's hit season 2. There's still moments where it feels a little forced, like it just like we know this is, like the classic, mistaken intent kind of trope that Frasier often uses. They do that one in the second episode. Again, so there are times it just feels a bit forced, but I feel like all the cast are really coming into their own, and that's good. And they brought in Patricia Heaton, who is just amazing. I mean, in everything. So she's
who is she?
This is the revival.
Yes, yeah, the revival.
Oh, okay.
They just introduced her in the second episode. She is a bartender at a super fancy restaurant that Frasier meets. But I know because of just the headlines I read that I think she's going to show up more. So,
have they had any of the Cheers cast pop on?
Not yet, but I do know there is an upcoming episode where he goes back to Seattle, so we get a lot of the work cast will come back. I know Roz is supposed to show up more in this season. I know Bulldog's coming back. The guy that played who did like all the food radio show is coming back. So anyway,
well, if you're a fan of Cheers, Ted Danson and Woody Harrelson just started a podcast about Cheers.
Oh, shit. I knew that.
Yeah, because he was recently on Smartlist, and I think it's on that same network or whatever. Okay. So he was there to promote it. Which, first of all, Ted Danson on a podcast with Woody Harrelson, like that's
that sounds like the more I think about it, the more insane that sounds.
Yeah, like no, I do podcasts. You don't do podcasts. You do really good TV shows.
Yeah.
But Woody Harrelson, I just imagine Woody Harrelson coming into each episode just stoned out of his mind.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Yes. Stoned and maybe on mushrooms.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But so Anyway, I mean, if you've been kind of anti-Frasier, give it a try. I think it's getting better and better personally. We also watched the first episode of season 4 of Only Murders in the Building. And guys, I have to tell you, I love the first season. I was nervous about season 2. Season 2 knocked it out of the park. And at that point, I'm like, all right, they can do no wrong. Season 3 I liked, but it felt very weird because it was like, I think I made the comment on the show even, it was the first season where none of the main cast felt like they were the ones in mortal danger, right? Like they were almost these like tertiary detectives investigating something that involved them, but they were never the ones directly at risk. The first episode of season 4, I just have to tell you, it is a perfect episode. We got to the end of it and all like the whole family were like, holy shit, that was amazing. Like it's incredible. So jump in. It is so good. I am so happy that this show, this show could have been a one good season and then not, right? And they've just found ways to just keep it going that kind of organically makes sense. So it's good. Very good.
After so many murders in the building, I would have just moved.
right. Yeah. No, they can't. That's their bread and butter at this point.
Yeah, are they like on rent control department? So they
I was like, if it's rent controlled, no way are you moving.
So again, I don't want to give anything away, but I'll just say this: it does involve them going to Hollywood because they want to make a film version of their podcast, and just getting the reveal of who is playing them is pretty great. So
cool.
And then
we got a meeting in Hollywood next week to turn this into a movie.
Yeah, I know, that'd be great, right? I mean, we all know who'd play me.
Yeah.
George Clooney. Anyway, so but
in the role of a lifetime, George Clooney.
Exactly. He's like, why am I wearing these short cutoff jean shorts? I don't understand. Anyway, and then finally, again, speaking of like revivals that are back, the most recent episode of Futurama called Cuteness Overload is so good. It is the first episode, I feel like, from this new revival on Hulu that absolutely feels like and hits the mark of a classic episode. It is so great. It's excellent satire. It's funny. It kind of plays with the characters a bit. It actually kind of spins off of the in the classic show, the one where Leela goes back to her orphanage. It spins off of that. It's a great episode. So if you haven't watched any of the new season, just jump straight into that one and you'll kind of see like what they're capable of. And then finally, and maybe only Clay will appreciate this. I don't know, Jeff, you might too. I found myself unexpectedly in the hospital last weekend, and in between bouts of sleeping, I just needed something fun to watch. And so
I do appreciate you being in the hospital.
Thank you. So I ended up watching, because I just bought it on DVD and ripped it to my Plex server. I ended up watching Kids in the Hall Brain Candy, which I had not seen since it came out.
Same.
And my consensus is kind of the same. It is not a very funny movie. I feel like it just when it tries to be funny, like it can be, but it all feels very forced. And I think a lot of that comes from a lot of the behind the scenes tension. But the thing that I didn't appreciate about the first time that I did now is it is 1000% pitch perfect satire.
Yeah.
It is a fantastic satirical film. And if you just go into it thinking, I want good satire and I don't need to laugh every 5 minutes or 5 seconds, it's a great movie. It's really good. It does so much with its plot. And when you think about how often like sketch comedy shows try to become films and kind of miss the mark because they're used to condensing everything down to like 5-10 minutes tops.
You mean like It's Pat?
Exactly. Or almost or almost any SNL movie that's not Wayne's World, or the Blues Brothers.
The Coneheads.
Oh, let's not speak.
Didn't they get 2 movies?
Stuart Smalley saves his family.
Yeah, right. This one has a legitimately good plot. It has a plot that really carries through, and that plot is central to the satire. So again, if you just go into it with that mindset, I think you'll enjoy it. So,
all right. Well, Clay went to watch the movie.
Clay was excited,
and I will also be right back. So,
all right. I guess we're taking a break.
Sorry.
Well, let's see.
All right.
Well, Jeff, nobody wants to hear what you are watching. Apparently,
nope. I didn't. I didn't. I already talked about everything I watched really this week.
Oh, really? Oh.
With the Penguin and Agatha. I will say, because Josh was talking about sketch comedy shows. Shout, I think it's Shout, is doing on their YouTube channel a live stream of the old sketch comedy, The Whitest Kids You Know, that group.
Yeah.
It's their Civil War movie, which is about these two guys. It's from the Confederacy who want to legalize marijuana and then accidentally start the Civil War, basically. But I was watching it. It's very it's very dated comedy. Some of it's very funny, but it's also kind of like, oh, you can't that joke would never carry today kind of stuff. But it does make me miss, like, we don't have any like sketch comedy shows anymore. Like they were all, I feel like they were all around back in the day, because you had The State, The Whitest Kids You Know,
Kids in the Hall.
I think it's
Kids
because
in the Hall.
Dave
I think
Chappelle.
a lot of sketch comedy, a lot of it just moved online.
Strangers with Candy.
Right.
I feel like it is, but you don't. I don't know. Maybe. I guess I feel like, because I do see a lot of like little sketch stuff on like TikTok, like people that make TikToks and whatnot.
Amy Schumer.
Yeah.
But they don't feel as like thought out. I don't know, always. I mean, some of them are very funny, but some of them, I mean, they are actually sketch comedy kind of things, as opposed to like full on, blown up idea kind of things.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
well,
I guess we're talking about comics.
Let's talk about comics.
So I read the Avengers. What is this? 18. Storm, I think, is probably joining the Avengers. We get a lot of her in this issue. I enjoy it. Pretty good stuff. I like it.
Did you read Heroes Reborn?
I did.
Okay, so all this stuff like made sense. I mean, it made sense to me, even though I haven't read it. But
I don't really remember how it, like, because Heroes Reborn, I did get the mini, but it was also heavily tied into Jason Aaron's Avengers run, and I had given up on that by that point. So I don't really recall how it ended, but really I didn't feel lost. I do feel like they did send a bunch of bombs into space and just left them there. So I feel like that is the gun that was introduced in Act 1 that will come back around at some point.
That's crazy, because that was like from 2021, I think.
Which one? The Heroes Reborn?
Heroes Reborn, yeah.
Well, but in this issue, they launched a bunch of vibranium
bombs. Oh, you're talking about
yeah. So then they just left them there. So I was just like, well, that's gonna come back to haunt them, I think. Destro issue number 4. That's right. Pretty good, picking up stuff. We get to see Cobra Commander at the end of that issue. We have X-Men number 4, Jed McKay. Did I particularly enjoy anything about this one? I thought it was okay. They're getting more interesting. They're getting more actiony.
We had a fill-in artist already.
Already?
Yeah. But he's still kind of doing what Stegman's doing, sort of.
Yeah. Oh, he's very good. I think Neto Diaz is very good. Actually, it's actually, if you can't have Stegman, you can bring in this guy, and it's like, okay, no.
Yeah.
One thing you should have found really interesting, Jeff, and I don't know if you did, is that if you look in the back at the X-Mail, you will see an email from Daniel from Dallas.
Oh, look at that.
Who is Daniel from Dallas?
From our buddy Daniel McCullough?
That's right. So, collector's item for the next issue podcast. First appearance.
I'll have you sign my copy.
Thank you.
Danny, I was a little bummed you didn't begin it with, longtime reader, first time caller, but
I think they have a filter for those, and they just like put straight into the spam. Also, they brought in I don't know if this kind of not a spoiler, but they brought in this character, the Sugar Man, that I don't know who the hell they are, and I don't know what their deal is. But this feels like something that if Stegsman's gonna draw this later on, it's gonna look super rad. But yeah, interesting.
Sugar Man is one of those villains that I like pops up and I'm just like out. I don't know why he grosses me out so much.
Well,
I'm just
you're not gonna enjoy that Violet.
He's a mutant MODOK.
Yeah, that's what it kind of feels like.
Yeah, I love him. He was I think designed by Chris Bocciolo, so I've always been a fan.
Jenny Sparks issue number, what is this, 2? Book 2? I'm really enjoying this book. Captain Adam's a nutcase.
He's giving more Dr. Manhattan vibes than he had ever been before.
Yeah, exactly.
I think in this book, Tom King is just writing. And also, look, I know Tom King likes to write about sad stuff, but he just
right off the bat.
This issue kicks off with the Twin Towers.
Oh, wow!
So, what the heck? But it's still very good. It's still very, very.
Who hurt him?
The CIA.
I think he's working out all his issues on the page so that he doesn't have to like. It's actually
100.
healthy. It's actually healthy for him, just like for everyone else. Is like we're like trauma sponges.
He's cracked the code. Instead of paying for therapy, he's earning money and doing therapy. So
I do like how all the other superheroes kind of like interact with Jenny. We've only seen Batman and Superman interact with her, but they both are kind of like, ugh, this girl, but also like extremely like referential to her. Like they're just like, well, you do what you got to do. We're gonna do what we got to do, but we'll try to stay out of your way. Kind of stuff. I
can't wait till the Teen Titans call her Boomer.
I also am curious if we're gonna see Manchester Black in this. I would love to see Manchester Black in this.
Are they related?
I don't think so. I think he was just a rip off of her.
They just like to wear the shirts.
Yeah, Manchester Black was written in response to the Authority. So really, he is like the Jenny Sparks of the DC universe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Falling in Love on the Path to Hell. What is this? Issue number 4. Somebody's finally falling in love in this. It took 4 issues. I'm really enjoying this book, though. It's about a bunch of just people who have died on Earth get transported to kind of a purgatory land between heaven and hell or the afterlife or whatever, and they have to fight in these epic battles every night. But we don't really understand what's going on as to why this is happening. But we are picking up little clues as you go along. Anyway, these 2 people meet. One's a gunslinger from the American West. The other is a samurai from like late 1800s Japan. And eventually they're going to fall in love. They did kind of kiss in this issue. X Factor number 2. I always have to look. I forget which ones I'm on. It's okay. So it's Ecstatics is what it is. It's Ecstatics. Cool. If you've read Ecstatics, that's what it is. Yes. But it's written by Mark Russell. Yeah. I think Mark Russell, I love Mark Russell, but I think Mark Russell tends to get in his own way with his own satire sometimes. Yeah. I think he loses his message with him trying to be too clever with the funny and whatnot. And I feel like that's happening a little bit. So sometimes like his Flintstones, golden for me. His Wonder Twins, fantastic. If you go back and read his Prez run from the New 52, it's weirdly prescient to like stuff that happened with COVID and stuff, like years and years before we even got to it. So like it's weird to read Prez now, but most of his stuff lately I've been like, I like it. It doesn't hit me as some of his early works that I've read.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Wonder Woman number 13. I love Tom King, what he's doing with this book. I love Wonder Woman with Damian Wayne. Those two make such a great pairing that I never knew I needed.
Wow, yeah, I would never have expected that.
And
yeah,
Tony Day is actually doing pretty good work on
shit
the
out of
art.
him all the time. He's a pain in the ass.
He's kind of like, he treats her with, I think, with a bit more respect because it's Wonder Woman and he knows that she's a badass kind of thing. Okay. But he's still kind of like this pretentious asshole, and she's Wonder Woman, so she just kind of like takes it, or just kind of, she knows how to deal with him. She kind of ignores him, but like plays lightly around with him and stuff, and kind of gives him enough rope before, so for him to kind of like trip, you know. Yeah. And then she'll step in and stuff. This is great because she keeps making out with Steve Trevor in this issue, and Damian Wayne is like gross. World's Finest, number 31. We get Eclipso in this one. This is my Mark Waid is, I think, doing this is like Grant Morrison's JLA part 2, because it is just action. It is you keep seeing all these little guest appearances from just random DC superheroes. It's so much fun. I love this book.
And it's drawn by a name that we may hear later on. Maybe
we'll see. Dazzler number 1.
Cool.
Love it. We're kind of cribbing some Swifty lore. I like that cover.
It makes sense that you would finally do like, oh yeah, what if Dazzler just goes on tour and like her entourage is like some other mutants, like Strong Guy and Multiple Men, because they can actually help her as stagehands. You got Domino as the head of security, because that just makes sense. The only one I don't know is Wind Dancer. I'm not very familiar with Wind Dancer. And then also,
is that actually an Alpha Flight character?
Maybe that might be a Clay question.
I'm gonna look.
And Shark Girl, of course, on drums.
Shark Girl on drums.
And one other thing is that Jason Liu has been writing original songs for this comic. So at the back of the comic, you can actually read the original song.
You can download the song too. I haven't listened to it yet. I haven't looked for it yet. Superman 1818, Absolute Power tie-in, Superman dealing with magic. Beautiful artwork by Jamal Campbell. We love Zatanna. Epitaphs into the Abyss, number 3.
That's the one I need to get. I haven't gotten it yet. That came out this week, right?
Yeah.
That was
good
one of
stories.
The
three good stories in here.
I am constantly impressed at the talent they are getting for that book. It is top notch.
There are a lot of like little horror anthology books happening right now too, and so it's the market is hot.
Scary times.
And I did pick up a physical copy of The Moon is Following Us from my comic book store. That's what I got this week.
All right, let me go through the rest of my stuff real quick, because I think we went through all the stuff I read mainly. This is my distro. I had
real quick. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I also picked up the little Far Sector.
Nice.
So this is the copy of distro that I picked up. I picked up the Power Fantasy number 2, which is great.
Is that any good?
I love it. People are calling this the next Watchmen. So.
Really?
It's on our drive. They're on our drive. So, and also the Tin Can Society, new book by it's a story by Rick Remender, but it's really by Peter Warren, who's writing it. I did mention in our review, this book comes with big content warning, so make sure to read them before you get into it.
I did read that in the files. I thought it was great, and when I went to pick it up this week at Urban, again he said that the publishers were like, no, don't sell this one. So I guess they're gonna, I don't know what's going on for whatever, because I didn't get to pick up a copy of that and Lilith. I wanted Lilith to come out this week.
Well, speaking of,
see, they wouldn't. They were like, no, Lilith, can't buy Lilith either. And I was like, what?
Why are they not selling it to you? That's so weird.
I still haven't had my Helen of Windhorn 3 yet either, so I'm like, well, put them in my pool whenever they get it.
Your storage is not getting them?
I got 4 right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten it.
So your store just didn't get it?
Helen of Windhorn 3, there was a misprint on the cover that had
right.
And so they were like,
yeah.
So they were like, well, we'll probably get it when 4 comes out, and then they'll just double ship. And then I asked about Lilith and Tin Can Society this week, and they were just like, yeah, they told us not to sell them. And I was just like,
okay. So there's mistakes in them. Okay.
I guess there's mistakes, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought they were like censoring, or your shop didn't want to sell them or something. I was like,
No, I think there are mistakes. One of them had a missed barcode or something. There's a barcode misprint on them, and then I don't know about the other one.
All right. The rest of the things I haven't actually read, but I picked them up. So I got this one for free because it's got a scratch in the back, like it's torn in the back. Lethal Protectors #1. So that was nice. My shop just had it. They're like, hey, I was gonna buy one, and they're like, you want this one? This one. I mean, I was like, I don't care. I just want to read it.
Yeah.
I picked up the first Mutant Nation. I haven't read it, but I got this really cool Casey Jones cover.
I almost got that. It looked kind of interesting, but I fear I would have no idea what's going on.
Same, but I'll drop it in our Dropbox anyways.
Cool.
Spirits of Vengeance. I haven't read this one either, but it's got all the Ghost Riders in it, so it's got to be good, right? More Ghost Rider, most fun. There you go.
More Ghost Riders, the better.
I haven't read Ultimate X-Men 7, but I love this series. It's a lot of fun. The last issue of Vader 50. So they're jumping onto. I think they're gonna finally. This is the last issue for now because they're gonna jump onto the Return of the Jedi, post Return of the Jedi now, because they've been in between for a long time now. And then the last 3. Oh, actually, this is the.
Wow,
that's
the Superboy one shot from this week. Oh yeah, put on the glasses because all the next ones are shinies.
Okay,
that looks like it's from the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, it looks cool. I also picked up the 10th print of Void Rivals #1.
Wow, that's beautiful.
They did this, like cool gold
print.
Yeah, so they call it like the Skybound Gold. I guess once you get to a 10th print, they do like a special printing.
Or they just made
gold foil. Yeah, I just picked this up to have it. I bought this when it came out originally. So it's nice. It's embossed gold. It's cool. And then for Batman Day, because today is Batman Day, even though we didn't talk about it, I picked up my facsimile of Detective Comics 27.
Nice.
It's actually printed in the original size.
Oh, awesome!
That's cool.
Yeah,
because I was gonna buy like a little top loader thing to put it on, and Jeremy at Titan's like, this is in gold. What's called? What is it called? Gold era?
Golden Age?
Gold. This is in Golden Age.
Yeah.
This is like original Golden Age, which were a little bigger.
Yep.
So he didn't have a thing for me to put it in. So I just got this. Right now, it's just got a sleeve on it or a bag on it. So, but yeah, that's all I picked up. Other than all the stuff we already talked about, and most of it reviews are on the channel. But guys, comics are fucking good every week now. So all right, Clay, you've had your pile on your hand for a while. Let's talk about it.
First up, Aliens versus Avengers.
Awesome.
Wow, this is a pretty book too. Like it is, and so it's like a tale of the older Avengers fighting aliens. You know?
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Yeah.
Aliens with a capital A, not a small A.
Right.
And now Black Panther fighting Predators.
I love that cover. That Scotty Young cover made me giggle.
Yeah, I do love this. The thing that I like in this story is that this is more of two brother predators who are kind of pitted against each other, and one who is looking for the source of their ultimate weapon, which is a vibranium sword. Because he has a leg that's made out of something, and he's like, if I could just make that out of vibranium, I could just kill my brother and take over the family. Because being a predator's fun. Thanos. I mean, obviously, I just got my Scotty Young covers like back to back.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good way to get a sampling of what's Marvel putting out.
Yeah, and this is an older book that is part of the annual storyline of the Infinity Stone, the Dead Stone. So,
but does it have the Thanos copter in it? Because I feel like we're not getting enough of that.
No,
he needs to throw like fruit snacks out of the copter more often.
More Scotty uncovers. Just
wow. Yeah,
X-Force I was able to get, and like we were talking about Spirits of Vengeance earlier, I love these from the 90s, so Spirit of Vengeance was a story I was like already digging from the start. And then Venomore, like it is weird but perfect. Like they're telling a story through wrestling and it works and I get it and it's really fun. Like you get to meet all the different versions of Venom, and then you're also in the Spider-Man universe, so you get to see like Liz shows up and she's also got a symbiote, so like everyone has one and it's all fun and they fight. So what else do you want? I think that was all.
You're muted, Jeff.
It was like Oprah. It's like you get a symbiote and you get a symbiote, you get a symbiote.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then I was finally able to catch up on Vengeance of Moon Knight, which is kind of like was like the whole Blood Hunt story. It was like set up so that Shroud took over as Moon Knight for a while and nobody knew who that was. And then because he has that black energy, that was used to black out the sky. And then as Khonshu had been imprisoned in an Asgardian jail. So who do you hire to break you out of an Asgardian jail? One of the Wrecking Crews.
What? That's amazing.
The Wrecking Crew show up and
oh, did we lose him? The Wrecking Crew showed up. Oh, there he is.
Oh wait.
Why? Well, everyone.
We're in mid freeze.
Clay's a little frozen.
We
can't hear you
back.
Clay. Yeah, you're back.
There you are. Yeah.
Bomb. Just a slow zoom on Clay as he sadly shakes his head no.
Oh.
All right. Here, let me.
I didn't have technical difficulties.
Yeah, a little bit.
There we go. The Wrecking Crew busted Khonshu out of Asgardian.
Bust Khonshu out of jail. He wants vengeance for someone impersonating him, so he wants the Shroud killed, and that is how Vengeance of Moon Knight ends up at the end. Does he kill Shroud, or how does he get around it? Does he become a hero that kills? Yeah, well, it's great. I love Jed MacKay on this book. The art kind of seems just, here and there.
Moon Knight's always been a hero that only kills when he has to, not because Khonshu's telling him. So I like that he finds like a interesting workaround, if you want to call it that. So
yeah.
Okay.
So that's been the fun part of that run, just finding that kind of Moon Knight history around Blood Hunt. And
the Fist, Jed MacKay's still going to be on Moon Knight. They're launching a new book, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they just launched it super early, and then the first issue is going to be out like in December.
Yeah. So, all right. Josh, you want to wrap up the comics so we can move on to talk about more comic stuff?
Sure. So these are the ones I didn't get to. Again, I only had 2 picks for my comics for my pull list this week. I didn't pick them up. This is all stuff from like the prior week. I didn't get a chance to read this yet, but I'm excited. This is The Pedestrian. And I think I said last time, I picked this up solely because the original cover made me giggle. The hero basically just is like a fast walker. But he's in this little like Midwestern suburban town and he's helping people. He never speaks. He's like, you don't know who he is yet, but it's an interesting take on like a hero. So anyway, it's been a fun book. This is only issue 2. Again, I haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm intrigued to see where it goes. Helena Windhorn, number 4. I need to read this. Haven't gotten to it yet, but again, it's a really interesting book. I'm kind of at the point here with issue 4 that I'm like, I may just need to wait for the collection. Like, I feel like it's kind of dense, which of course is Tom King. That's no surprise, but it's so dense. I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, I open the first few pages and I'm like, I don't remember what happened. You know, I'm like, so I think I just need to wait for the trade. Picked up issue 2 of Arkham Horror, which is based on the board game and the RPG they're about to put out. It's fun so far. It just, 1930s people fighting eldritch horror. There you go. And then finally, again, that I haven't read, issue 4 of Gotham by Gaslight, the Kryptonian Age. I love what they're doing in this because the idea is basically, the title is a bit of a conceit, I want to say. The title is very much like, oh, this is going to be Gotham by Gaslight with Superman.
Yeah.
Yes, and because they're introducing a lot of other DC heroes into this. That's been really cool to see in this universe. And I don't want to spoil anything, but this one firmly sets up, you can kind of tell by the cover, another DC hero they're going to bring in.
Mephisto.
Finally.
Always Mephisto.
Amazing man.
Which makes sense, right? Superman obviously being the first comic book kicks off the DC.
Yep.
So really fun. I like that. I like that take on it.
I am continuing to force myself to buy and read this. I just want to stress, Jim Shooter should never write women or African Americans. So cringingly bad. I'm killing Clay. His roadie is just I nearly threw the book across the room. It's so bad. Every character that talks about a woman has to end their comment with great legs, though. I mean, it's so terrible.
Yeah. How do they write out the auga sound?
Exactly. Again, don't come for Jim Shooter's writing, but at least appreciate Mike Zeck's art, which is beautiful on this.
And really stay for the legs.
Yeah, Jesus.
Great legs.
I can't, and what's so funny is there are so many moments from this that are just permanently etched into my brain that I didn't realize reading it as a kid would do. I thank God the sexism and racism didn't like embed itself in my brain.
There was little Josh running around. Hey there, great legs.
Yeah. God forbid Jim Shooter sues us now. Apologies in advance. Scarlet number 4, really digging this book. I like it. There's a twist at the end of it that was kind of like, oh shit. Which, if you're a Joe fan, you kind of saw coming, but anyway.
Right.
I am continually impressed at this book, Transformers by Daniel Warren Johnson, not just for the way he's writing it, but for the fact that they were able, and this is going to sound like a backhanded insult, and I don't mean it this way. They were able to find an artist to replace Johnson, who is a pitch perfect replacement for Johnson. I mean, it looks like he's still drawing it. Mm-hmm. It is so good. It is an absolutely seamless transition. This book is great. And it really puts, it really sets the stakes, I think, for Optimus Prime having to pick and choose what to focus on, in this new universe they put themselves in.
You know what? I think it's a really big help that Mike Spicer has been constantly the colorist for everything.
Oh, that makes sense. You're right.
That really adds to the feeling the same. And Russ Wooten doing the rest of the team is still the same, so it adds a layer of sameness.
Yeah,
and then Corona's
that's a really good point.
Yeah.
I do wish I had hair like any Jorge Corona character hair has, where it's just like
that would be
this
good.
Go check out Middle West if you want to know.
Yeah.
About. Eisner Award-winning Middle West.
I know I'm behind on this, but Cruel Universe #2, just a solid. There are such good stories in here. And again, I just want to give props to the level of talent in this. All right. The first story written by Stephanie Phillips, which amazing. Art by Riley Rosmo. Second story written by Ben Winters, art by Leo Max. The third story written by Chris Condon, art by Javier Fernandez.
Yeah.
And the fourth story written by Christopher Cantwell with art by David Lapham. Wow. And I was honestly halfway through and I'm like, this looks like David Lapham. And I went to the thing, I was like, holy shit, it's David Lapham. I mean, it just,
What's the last story called?
Oh, the last story is Ray Gun, which is so good.
Ray Gun, that's right.
Ray Gun is so good.
Yeah.
I think I may have to wait until the fantasy one comes out, but I really want to write up on my blog just about this resurgence and how amazing it's been. Because I feel like so many other people take the EC properties, right? Like the existing titles like Tales from the Crypt and so on, and just kind of try and do something new with it. And this was instead, we're taking the essence of what original EC was and we're making new titles and we're doing it right.
I think it's because a lot of those creators probably grew up reading the EC stuff and they're like, this is what it really felt like. So that'll be fun. So I think each of those is 5 issues, but then they're, like you mentioned, they're doing the Cruel Empire, I think it's called, or whatever.
Something like that, yeah. But that's not until January that comes out.
But we also have Hello Darkness, the horror anthology over at Boom.
Right.
Next week, Image is coming out with the 3rd volume of Creepshow, issue #1. So anthologies are back, baby.
But to stress, it's not just about horror. See, the thing about EC was always the satire and the social commentary, and that's what these have captured really well.
Oh,
that Ray Gun story is not about the Australian breakdown.
It's not about the Australian breakdown,
but it's still pretty good.
It could have been, but no.
Can you imagine if the turnaround time would have been so quick? Yeah, I've been following Ray Gun.
I do also want to give props to this, which I know Clay will like. I really only expected it to be 1 issue, but the fact that it's continuing is great. Hate is Back by Peter Baggy. And okay. If you've read his Hate series, really up until like the early 2000s, it was always kind of a sense where it was constantly moving forward, right? Yeah, exactly. The thing about this that I really like is what he does every issue, which I think is kind of brilliant, is the opening story is one from the past. So you get like teenager Buddy, or you get like the early days of like he and his roommates, right? But it's always setting up the next story, which takes place in the present. And he's constantly pairing these two off because the contemporary story makes more sense and has more resonance if you know what happened in the past. And it is a brilliant move. Really, really brilliant. I'm loving this book so much. I'm not a big fan. The interior, I say interior, it's actually the inside covers have a, it's this stretch pants thing, and it's only drawn by is it Bag or Baggy, Clay?
I thought it was Bag.
Okay. It's only drawn by him. It's actually written by, it says somewhere. Why can't I find it? D. Carino. And I don't like these. They're actually, especially in issue 3, the most recent one, it's actually kind of like, it has a weird kind of like transgender commentary that I felt was a little problematic personally. But the bag stuff itself is really good. Just the actual hate stuff, which is like don't take that out of context. Just a few more, but these are the ones I really wanted to talk about. All right. Batman Echoes, please fucking tell me you guys are reading this. It's so good. It's so good.
I'll read it collected. But I love that cover. I love that cover.
That's a great cover.
I had to get this cover. This cover is great.
So good.
If you are a fan of Batman and Batman Returns and not the other ones, this book, this one and the last series are just a fantastic continuation of this storyline. Again, written by the original screenwriter, Sam Hain. This one also it's kind of interesting because it's very subtle, but it has a Riddler who is very It has a Riddler who is very much modeled after Martin Short. And there's an interesting moment where a character shows up, and I was like, wait, that is Arnold Schwarzenegger. But he's not playing
Victor Freeze.
No, he is playing just some rando nameless person who freaks out. So I like these little nods to like what is to come but kind of reframing it for the actual like Burton verse. So it's such a good book. I know I'm going long. I'm sorry. Anyway, Fantastic Four number 25. I mentioned this to you guys in our group chat. I love this book so much. And this story it starts out with what you think is going to pick up immediately at the end of the last issue, which is they go to confront Doom in Latveria because he is now the Sorcerer Supreme. And they get there, and one of them does something, and it basically shoots them off to a planet they don't know where they are, and they spend months there. So they're on this other planet. They meet the indigenous alien population. Well, that's an oxymoron. They're the indigenous population. FF are the aliens. And yet what is funny is, and this is introduced in the very first opening page dialogue, this is a meet cute romantic story. And I don't want to tell you any more than that, but it is beautiful. And then as Ryan North is very good at doing, what starts off just kind of like happy-go-lucky turns into this like deeply philosophical question by the end of how to resolve this predicament they found themselves in. And it's just so good. I would love to just hand this issue to anyone and say, read this, tell me the ideas don't stick with you for the rest of your life, and that you are now a fan of the FF, because that's what this book does. So
wow.
Also, I agree. I agree 100%. It's one of my favorite books, and it teaches you something every issue.
Yeah.
I mean, we get into they talk about how there was a second sister planet to Earth a bajillion years ago or whatever, and I went and looked it up, and I was like, oh, I think I remember hearing about this.
Yeah.
Like theoretical, but like the real stuff in our real life is being, he talks about it in this book, real scientific principles.
Not counter Earth.
Not counter Earth.
No. Yeah, it's not Earth 2. But here's the thing, and this is going to sound like this comparison will turn people off, but this is really Good Place, the comic. I feel like in the same way that the Good Place introduced all these philosophical ideas to like the general population, Ryan North is really introducing these like scientific and philosophical ideas through Fantastic Four stories that are still fun and delightful. So such a fucking masterclass. I love it. This one I just want to talk about because it's not the kickoff, but it's the first. So there's been this long-running Conan the Barbarian series written by Jim Zub and then an assortment of artists. They have kicked off this, I'll just say, event called Battle of the Blackstone. And actually, if you go to the back cover, it lists all the stuff if you want to read them all. Now, here's the brilliant thing about this. the first like 3 options on here are basically reading all the previous Conan the Barbarian comics. You don't have to do that. You could jump in right at this point with Conan Battle of the Black Stone #1. Like, it is actually a great jumping on point. I would actually say the free comic book day issue, which you can get download for free from Titan's site, is probably a great jumping on point, and then jump straight to this. Here's the thing I love about this, though. As an event book, I think it's really brilliant. Now, I will temper this and come back after it's done, because it could be that you do have to have read all the previous Conan books to understand what the fuck's going on. But jumping on, at least, I don't feel like you do. And I like that as an event idea, right? That even though they say, yes, go read basically Conan the Barbarian issues 1 through 12 before you jump in here, I would argue you don't have to, right? So, but the other thing I really love, and I don't think we've ever seen this before, is that when you go through this list, I just want to point out one of the things on here is a novel that comes out in November called Cult of the Obsidian Stone, Moon. And I just kind of love the idea that they're just like really doubling down on like, look, we put out, this is all through Heroic Signatures that now have all the Robert Howard properties. And they're like, look, we put out comics, we put out magazines, we put out games, we put out fiction. So let's just bring all that in, right? Let's just do it. So I'm really intrigued how this works. And the other thing I love is, Jim Zub is doing a deep dive. He actually kind of refers to this as almost like the Howard verse, because all of his characters, even really obscure ones I've never heard of, are showing up in this. I mean, yes, you get your Solomon Kane, you get your Cull, but you get like Dark Agnes I've never heard of. You get El Borak, who I've only just learned of and I'm now in love with. You get even a character who is like when he showed up in the free comic day one, or even this one, I thought they were just writing Robert E. Howard in and changing the name and the place. But no, this is actually a character Howard came up with that is very much a stand-in for him that appeared in his story. So anyway, really, really fun stuff. I'm very intrigued by this. And I may be the only one. Last one, I promise. I really am curious. Did anyone else read this?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I want to know what you think of this, because I am on record that the last time they did a Plastic Man miniseries written by Gail Simone, that should have been a slam dunk.
Yeah.
And it was not good. And no discredit to Simone, but I don't know if it was rushed. I don't know what, but it never clicked. And when I read the description of Plastic Man No More, which is described as, and I just want to say, it's here on the back cover, body horror Plastic Man noir. I read that description and I went, oh, this is going to be awful, because Plastic Man should not be dark and gritty.
Yeah.
I was wrong. This was fantastic, because I think the thing, and let me just talk about, and again, Danny, did you do like a video, or did you guys already discuss this last week?
Well, I talked about it when it came out a couple of weeks ago, I think, and then
that long? Okay.
Or maybe I just did a review, but yeah, go for it though.
I'll just be quick then. So, written by Christopher Cantwell, art by Alex Lins, but they actually flip back and forth. So certain pages are actually drawn by Jacob Edgar. This book is great, and actually, I think the thing it does really well is it presents this happy-go-lucky, funny Plastic Man, but it's that specific aspect of him that is the problem.
Yeah.
It's the Justice League doesn't take him seriously because he's always joking. And the poor guy, excuse me, the poor guy goes before them and is like, hey, something really bad is happening to me. And they're just like, oh, you kidder. And like dismiss him. Right. I mean, and so I can see it getting darker and darker. But the interesting thing is, they've set up this balance that comes from a place of where Plastic Man is and where we, the audience, expect him to be, that they're really going to, no pun intended, deconstruct from this point on.
Yeah.
So basic premises: during a normal Justice League event, Plastic Man stretches himself to protect a bunch of kids, I think they're orphans, from a death ray. And after that event, the death ray is basically causing his body to fall apart. And it's gross. It is really disgusting. And then he becomes worried that he's dying. But if this is actually natural, if it's not a result of the death ray, he's got to go tell his son, who has the exact same powers. So it's like the stakes are getting higher and higher.
Yeah.
It's good. It's really great. I really went into it with very low expectations. I feel like nobody's really gotten Plastic Man recently, and they kind of nail it. I was sort of impressed. So.
I think you can really judge it by just that first opening sequence of the origin of Plastic Man.
Yeah.
It's really good. I think Canwell knows exactly what he wants to talk about in this series. And the multiple artists, like the artist that draws the Justice League sequence, he's doing kind of like a Batman Brave and the Bold cartoon type of art to illustrate how unserious it's supposed to be. Yeah.
So there's the normal artist.
Yeah.
All right. There is the Justice League bits.
Yeah, and even the coloring changes, and it's really. I really enjoyed it. I also had zero expectations for it, but then once I saw that it was Canwell writing it, I was like, well, I gotta at least read it, because Canwell's one of those writers that I'm gonna check out their books. At least I'm not a fan of all of them, but I'll definitely at least read the first one. So give me the benefit of the doubt.
Nice.
So yeah, great stuff. Great recommendation for sure.
Thanks.
All right. I'm trying to figure out how we can best do this.
I know. I'm sorry.
The best way. Well, I mean, we all had a lot of stuff to talk about. I think the best way, and Jeff, let me know. I think we should break it up into two parts. Today we do writers, and then next show we can do artists.
Okay.
Because that way we can actually just really take this 30 minutes that we have left, and kind of dive deep into it. I don't want to rush anything. So, Jeff, you want to pitch kind of like what you wanted to talk about in this episode while Clay gets back?
Sure. Back in the day, Wizard Magazine, I don't know if you guys remember Wizard Magazine, but they used to do their top 10 artist lists, top 10 writers lists, little blurbs about each one, who was hot at the moment. And I thought it'd be fun if we came up with lists of our own, just personal, who we really enjoyed reading right now, who we enjoyed looking, whose artwork we really liked, who are our personal top, whatever, 5, 2, 3, however much time we have to get into it. So I just 1 through 5, fellas, fill out this thing. Who are your top 5 artists? Who are your top 5 writers? What books are they working on? Why do you like them so much? If we get time, what would you like to see them work on that they're not currently working on? Voila, go at it. And so we all came up with our lists. Do you want to do top 3 since we're kind of up against the clock here?
Yeah, I think we can do that. I mean, we could just go around talking about artists and however long that takes, and then if anybody has a really good couple of pitches of things they like to see those writers on, then we can go. But yeah, you can go ahead and kick us off, Jeff, and then we'll go around the horn. If Clay doesn't get back, we'll give him time to catch up.
I will go with my I did rank them.
Sorry, before we get into it, for the audience, we have not looked at each other's list. We actually put the list separate. So I'm also very curious to see. So maybe after this, we'll combine it into like a big top 10 or something. Like, and this might be something we do quarterly, because I think I love the idea of like picking up the baton from Wizard, and like maybe now this is our list that we publish every once in a while. So go ahead, Jeff. Sorry.
Apologies for the top 4 and 5 spots go to Chip Zdarsky and Ryan North, just for the record. Number 3, Mark Waid. Mark Waid is currently writing World's Finest. He's writing the Absolute Power crossover event. Mark Waid has been in the industry forever.
Yeah.
And he continues to. I saw an interview with him once where he talks about how, Neil Gaiman and Grant Morrison and Alan Moore all get all these kind of credentials. They all get their own spots in and he has a little twinge of jealousy, not in a bad way, but he's like, I wish there were a Mark Waid show. And I'm like, he deserves one. He honestly 100% deserves one because he's just so prolific. I enjoy everything anything that he's ever written. I'm just like, yeah, he rarely misses. They're not always home runs, but they're always like at least doubles, base hits, whatever.
I can think of one that's not, but I'm on record for it. So
yeah. And I will say that what did I say that I wanted to see him? I want to see him do an Iron Man run. I feel like he hasn't done Iron Man before. He's done another thing. A thing about him is he's written everybody. He's been around for so long. He's gotten everybody. So I was like really trying hard, like, who has he not written?
Yeah.
And I don't think he's had an Iron Man run ever. So I'd be really interested into seeing what he has, what he would do to Tony.
So I will say Mark Waid is also in my top 5, but he doesn't make the cutoff for the time crunch. He's at number 4 for me. But did anybody else have Mark Waid on their list somewhere? No? Okay.
I mean, I'm just not reading anything he's currently writing, but he's a great writer. I mean, I love his Flash run is iconic, and if anything, he would be absolutely in the annals of comic history for that.
Tower of Babel is him.
Actually very underrated with Chris Samney.
Daredevil.
So, all right, let's keep talking about writers. Clay, we're gonna just do writers right now, and then we'll do artists next time. So top 3. Josh, let's go with you. We'll just kind of go around the horn that way.
And so just do one at a time. So I'm
three, also so start with 3, and then you can mention 4 and 5 if you want to give them a shout out. Just who it was.
Am I doing 3 right now, or I'm just doing 1?
No, sorry. So you're doing if you rank your top 5, you're doing your number 3 pick. So we asked. So I don't know if you ranked your writers 1 through 5.
I didn't. I just sort of threw them in a list.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, sorry. So I'll just say my number 3 right now would be Kelly Thompson. She has been writing Black Cloak, and I love it so much. It's been really great. And one of the things that got me thinking about her was I really like the way that she's very good at combining genres, but also world building. And so what I would like her to do, I'm kind of in this moment where I'm listening to the audiobook of the very first original John Carter of Mars, A Princess of Mars. And, I've got the role-playing game and stuff. And the thing that struck me is that really needs a reboot. And it needs a reboot by someone like Thompson. So I would love for her to do a John Carter of Mars because it needs someone with a much more kind of contemporary mindset to go with it, to talk about the various kind of cultures of Mars. And you have this outsider coming in. The original book is very colonialistic. It has a little bit of scientific racism underpinning it, and it needs to kind of have all that reworked and stripped out. And I think Thompson would be really great at it.
So she was also in my list. She was at number 5.
Nice.
Because I love the stuff she's doing with Birds of Prey, Scarlet. Her Eisner Award-winning Black Widow run from a little while back.
Nice, yeah.
She's fantastic. On top of all the indie stuff, The Call, like great stuff.
Yep.
Was she on anybody else's list? Jeff, I think you said
she's on my list.
Awesome.
She's number 1 on my list. But
wow!
Please.
All right, we'll get back to that, and you can tell us what you want to pitch on with her. So let me do my number 3. So you've already heard my 4 and 5 honorable mentions. You've already heard 4 was Mark Waid, 5 was Kelly Thompson. My number 3 is Stephanie Phillips.
Oh, good one, yeah.
Whether it's doing stuff indie with like Grimm, that books is ongoing. It's about to hit 20 issues, and that's rare, I feel, for an indie book, which is great stuff. She's also currently doing Phoenix. She recently wrapped up a Harley Quinn stint with also Riley Rossmo. So like that Cruel Universe team up was really cool to see. So whether it's a small run or a little one-shot thing or even like a longer story, I think she does such a great job with capturing the essence of these characters, and then adding layers to them. Right. I think during the Harley run, she added a few characters that I believe we're now seeing like in the animated stuff or something like that. So it's very cool to see. If I had to put her on something, I actually really enjoy a lot of the stuff that she does. That's kind of World War II related. So I'm thinking like maybe a Sergeant Rock type of book, set in the war times. I think that'd be really fun to see her take on that. So that's my number 3. Did anybody else have Stephanie Phillips on their list?
I did not.
Okay. All right, Clay. Let's go to your number 3, and feel free to shout out 4 and 5 if you have them.
Who is my number 3? I'm just gonna pick one. Brubaker. I mean, I love Brubaker stuff. Him and Sean Phillips on Criminal is the best crime book in comics. Period. I mean, every time a Reckless book comes out, it's always a great story. And Phillips's art just fits perfectly. I mean, it's like one of those teams that will be forever remembered in comics.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So like Vaughn and Staples, right? Like they have to work together. So
Kirby Lee.
Yeah. So to take him from an independent book, I would want to put him on, a Marvel or a DC book. If I'm putting that team on a DC book, I want them doing The Question. I want Vic Sage. I want hard-hitting crime journalism, and that incredible Sean Phillips style of catching crime and story at the same time. If it's a Marvel book, Moon Knight, because I want me some great crime stories in Moon Knight. I want it to get back to the pulpy stuff that Charlie Houston was doing. And Brubaker could do it. That would just make me the happiest on that book, is to have that team doing Moon Knight. So that's my number 3.
Beating criminals to a pulp.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Anybody else have Brubaker anywhere on their list?
He almost made my list. He did not.
Okay.
He just missed it.
Just missed. Yeah. I mean, well, we can talk about the process at the end if we have time. But Jeff, who do you have at number 2?
Number 2 is Ryan North. I love Ryan North. Josh has already gushed over his Fantastic Four run, which every issue that comes out every month, it's the top of the pile that I read first.
Yep.
Yeah. He's not super prolific in that he's just recently kind of gotten into writing some of the more mainstream comics, I would guess, within the last 5 years or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, every single issue of Fantastic Four has just been fantastic. I would love to see him take on someone like Superman, because I think he would do a really good job of kind of mixing that old 50s Superman story kind of telling, where Superman's more getting the scientific blunder kind of things and has to work himself out of it. Fun, interesting, quirky Superman stories. I would love to see what he does with that in the Superman family. Considering what he's done with Fantastic Four, I think he would be great at that. But yeah, Ryan North, great.
Yeah. So Ryan North is my number 1. Should I do him now, or should we wait?
Well, you can tell us about your pitch and a little bit more if you want when we get back to it. So
okay.
Anybody else have Ryan North on their list?
No.
Okay. All right. What's your number 2, Josh?
My number 2 is Mark Russell, because I'm really loving Batman Dark Age, and I really love Superman Space Age. And now, again, I totally agree with everything you said earlier, Jeff, about he's kind of hit or miss lately. I was, when you think of, I can't recall it, but the miniseries about the Elon Musk guy who's basically kidnapping people to make Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I felt like that didn't really land the ending.
What about, did you read Traveling to Mars?
I didn't know.
Okay. I recommend that too.
But I feel like this, I don't know what to call it. I guess we'll just call it like the Ageverse version of the DC characters he's doing has been really, really great. And it got me thinking, as much as I never want Ryan North to leave Fantastic Four, if he did, I would love to see what Russell does with it. Because I feel like he's very good at setting things in a time and a place. And quite honestly, what it sounds like they're doing with the FF movie, I feel like he would be perfect for doing a period piece in the comics, right? Like maybe like an ultimate or a spin-off universe where it's the FF in the 60s, in the space race. Because again, that's very much what these Age comics are set in, as kind of like the 60s and the 70s.
Like a retro futuristic look at the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. And I think he'll bring in some of that social commentary that North is able to do in a very not hitting you over the head with it in a way, right? So yeah, I would love to see what he does with that.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Did anybody else have Mark Russell on their list?
Again, he barely made the list. He just missed out because he's another favorite of mine.
All right. Well, my number
Josh
2
and I are very similar.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
My number 2 is a writer that is making me buy about 3 or 4 different books every month. I'm talking about Jed MacKay. Jed MacKay is writing half of the Marvel books, and I'm reading all of them. He's currently doing his Avengers run, which is I dropped off on Aaron's run. I think it kind of felt like it got away from him, or it got away from me, one of the two. But Jed MacKay brought me back hard. His Moon Knight run has been, I think, to me, is my definitive Moon Knight run. Like,
oh wow,
I've been reading it since it kicked off, and I love some of the other ones, and and I haven't read some of the more classic stuff too. But I think to me, Jed MacKay and Alessandro Capuccio's Moon Knight is kind of like my definitive Moon Knight. We just got through the Blood Hunt event, which did not fully disrupt the rest of the Marvel universe, which is something I really appreciate. And he's just taken over X-Men. So like there, this dude seems like he could do it all. So because he's doing so much stuff with Marvel, what I would like to see him do is maybe bring back the Justice League over at DC. I feel like he has a very good way to write team books and the chemistry between different characters and how to make the characters actually seem like they are individuals as opposed to just like part of this larger group that maybe is full of flat one-dimensional characters. And I mean, obviously he's prolific, so like, we would get he could probably do a Justice League run for a long time. So yeah, Jed MacKay is my number 2. Is he on anyone else's list?
No, mine.
Interesting, because he's writing half of the Marvel books right now. All right, Clay, you're number 2.
Hickman. I mean, you'll catch me complaining and loving him at the same time. I love to read his dense stuff when I could just like soak in it, and when it's really like done in a graphic novel form. Marvel fucks it up sometimes, so that kind of creates the problem. But I love his kind of, he'll have deep cuts, he'll have deep stories, he'll have cool twists. He always works with great artists that lay it out really well. I mean, the thing is that he always writes for like the omnibus. He writes for like a big giant collection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would love to put Hickman with Mark Brooks on a Marvel team up or a Marvel 2-in-1 book and force him to write for the single issue. I mean, you could still write for the omnibus out of that series, but I miss the great Marvel team ups and the Marvel 2-in-1s. I mean, Chip Zdarsky did 2-in-1s a while back and put together a great Human Torch and Thing run in that. And I would love to see Mark Brooks work. He just does great covers. He does incredible artwork. If it isn't one of those two books, I'd love to take them and put them on Micronauts. I loved Micronauts as a kid, and I feel like there's a deep history that Hickman could tap into. And to have Mark Brooks doing an entire run of Micronauts would be an incredible looking book. So
yeah, I mean, look at what he's doing with Alien Avengers, right? Like that's just, you can tell he's a fan of both the Alien franchise and of course the Avengers.
And the thing I really enjoy about Hickman, I mean, aside from all the world building and graphs and stuff, is that he's he's funny too. Like he's not. I mean, the stuff isn't really thought of as being funny, but if you go back and read his New Mutants run, the Sam Cannonball stuff, like he will his ultimates, like watching J. Jonah Jameson and Uncle Ben go back and forth, like reading all that stuff, so good, so funny, great character development.
Yeah,
he does.
I almost put him on my list because that Ultimate Spider-Man, it's so good, so good. Sometimes books lose me a little bit, like the Gods book that he's doing or that he just finished at Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
I need to go back and check it out now that it's all unlimited again. Even though I have all the issues somewhere, like it'll just be easier for me to do that. But it's probably gonna read better altogether as one cohesive idea, like Clay was saying. So, cool. Anybody else, Hickman? You said he almost made your list, Jeff. Almost made.
Yeah, he would go on an all-time writers list for me, pretty high up. But like just currently, there's too many other good currents.
All right, Jeff, we know you're number one, but tell us why. Tell us what else you want to see this creator doing.
So Kelly Thompson's my number one. Love her work on. She did Captain Marvel. She did, like we all talked about, Black Cloak, Birds of Prey, and specifically her work on Birds of Prey. All her characters, the way they all interact. I want to see Justice League by Kelly Thompson so bad. Yeah. I think that she would nail every single one of those characters. I think they would be so much fun to interact with. And I feel like DC has really gotten back to a place where I grew up like reading comics. My favorite time of DC is like that 96 through the early mid 2000s, which is like, 10 years post-crisis. And I feel like all those writers then were like, you know what? All the superheroes are friends. Like they've all known each other for a while. The whole, they started off with that Batman Superman beef that they wanted to kind of build into the universe. But like they threw all that out after everybody died and came back to life. And it was just like they were all work buddies kind of thing. Like the Justice League were work buddies and they all helped each other out and stuff. And I feel like we're at that point again in the universe. And so Kelly Thompson is really great at writing how these people know each other, have known each other for a long time, and how they can interact with one another. I would love to see her take on just the entire DC pantheon through the Justice League.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did anybody else have? I think I already asked this, but like I said, I had Kelly Thompson in my list at 5.
Yeah, she was 3 for me.
Okay, cool, cool. All right, Josh. Let's talk about your number 1, which I think we already know as well, but elaborate.
Yeah, you do. It is Ryan North. And so I'll say with a lot of my wishes here, you can see kind of where my head is at. I'm very much in this kind of old school kind of pulp mentality. But the thing I love about Ryan North, particularly with Fantastic Four, but even with things like 8 Billion Genies, is he's really good at combining science with character studies. And so I really want him to reboot Doc Savage.
Whoa.
I feel like there have not been a lot of people that really get it. And I think it would be just a fucking slam dunk. It would be fun. It would be funny. It would be thoughtful. And I could even see him doing it where it is set in the 30s or it's set in the 21st century. Like, I feel like he could do it either way and it would work. That's what I want to see. And so if anyone's listening, please hire Ryan North to write a comic. I want it so badly.
Who'd put on art?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still thinking about that.
Nice.
Let me ponder that a bit. So
I like
Chimley.
I like, you know, Chris Samney would probably work very well in a Doc Savage book.
Chris Samney.
Oh, Chris Samney would be great.
I mean, I could see like a Mike Allred would be doing a good job on it. I would almost, you know, because I just don't think she gets enough credit, but I really love the artist on Black Cloak, who is Meredith McLaren.
Oh yeah,
I think she do a great job. She has a really kind of like clean, I don't want to say cartoony, but just like a clean style that would work for a pulp book, I feel like.
Yeah.
So.
You know, Chris Sprouse would be good too, I think, because he did all those Tom Strongs.
Yeah.
Yes. Who was sort of like a analog to that.
Give me a Fiona Staples. Ah, shit, that'd be amazing. Fuck.
She's busy.
I know she's busy.
She's got Saga to turn around.
That'd be a great team up right there. So,
all right. This isn't about artists. Who's your number one, Daniel? Who's your number one writer?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, Josh.
There's only one choice, really, and I'm surprised this isn't on anybody else's list, but it's probably because I might be Batman pilled. But it's Chip
Zack
Zdarsky.
Snyder.
Oh. No. It's who?
Chip Zdarsky.
Yeah, Chip Zdarsky. Okay.
He is credited on the book, so I guess he was technically eligible. But no,
he's my number 4. I think he's my number 4 or 5.
Yeah, Chip Zdarsky.
He's my number 4.
He has really done like every series, whether it's indie stuff like Public Domain, or his stuff that even expanding that with his new Domain book, which is a lot of fun. Sex Criminals.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think Zdarsky's just a funny guy, and he definitely is funny, but he can also think like he's also very serious when he needs to be. But yeah, I'm loving all the stuff he's doing. When I saw that he was in that prequel kind of series, Batman the Knight, I was like, oh, we're about to get something really cool. And then he was announced that he was going to be the next writer on Batman after Tinian. And I was like, oh, shit, it's happening.
Coming off a Daredevil run. That Daredevil run was great.
Daredevil run, yeah.
Daredevil role, it's mind-blowing. Like, and obviously he had a great artist with Chichetto. Yeah. But yeah, he's another one of those guys that his Devil's Reign, like it didn't really distort everything. So it's like I like when writers plan out these things, and I guess it's not just writers, but like things are, I'm gonna do this really cool thing, but it's not gonna mess up anybody else's stuff, right? I'm not being selfish with the universe. So yeah, I think Chip Zdarsky, and I think a character that I would love to see him write would be Dr. Doom, because
he'd be great.
Think he can capture that essence of Doom. But Doom is also a little funny when he can. It can be a little humorous. That whole Dr. Doom and ruling Latveria, and dealing with the mystic arts. Like I know there's a big Doom story coming in 2025. But yeah, I would love to see Chip Zdarsky do a Dr. Doom run.
Can I tell you what I would like to see Chip Zdarsky do?
Sure.
Because I want to see him do an Alpha Flight comic. Because he's Canadian and he's funny.
He is Canadian.
Yes.
That'd be cool. Okay. Clay, give us your number 1 pick to close out this list.
I'm going with Matt Fraction. He's doing Adventure Man now. That's like his indie book. But I'd want to pull him back into the DC universe with Greg Smallwood as an artist and do a book about Alfred. Because I feel like Fraction finds that place in the superhero world the way he did with Hawkeye, and the way he did with Jimmy Olsen, that an Alfred book could be fun with history and mythology to Batman from Alfred's perspective.
Yeah.
God, that's a great pitch. I love it.
I like that a lot. That's very good.
Can I offer an honorable mention?
Sure.
Did anyone have Al Ewing on their list?
No, but he's great.
So I was thinking as I was putting this together, Al Ewing, to my mind, is best when he is just given a one-off like Marvel 85th special or something where he just gets free reign in the Marvel universe. Yeah. Give that fucker the DC universe. Like, just let him just go ape shit in the DC universe.
I would love to see him do New Gods because it's cosmic stuff.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah.
It's been so good.
Yeah.
And I know I know they're coming up with a New Gods book soon, but
and I know he's currently writing
he's doing Venom.
No, in DC. I think he's doing like Metamorpho or something. He's got it. It's on his page. Hang on. It's Metamorpho. Yeah, #1.
Is that already out?
It may not be actually, but
I don't think it's out. But
all right.
But it is kind of fun to think about all the different writers that are not on our list, like Daniel Warren Johnson.
Well, yeah,
he's on mine, actually.
He's on mine. He's listed as an artist.
I've got him.
The reason, well, I guess we could do a third one of like just writer artists.
I have two.
Like, that's a good idea.
Because that's
Scotty Young and Daniel Warren Johnson are on my artists.
But Tom King didn't make my list, and only because I couldn't think of anything good that I would want. Like, he already kind of does so much weird shit on his own.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even know where to put him.
Tom King was number 5 for me. He was my number 5.
Really?
He was almost.
And he needs to be writing Captain America.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
that would be good.
Yeah.
Legion of Superheroes for Tom King. Legion, but sad.
Interesting.
A bunch of just sad kids.
A lot of angst.
Sad.
How about Tom King's Challengers of the Unknown?
James Tinian didn't make anybody's list.
I know. He's so prolific too.
Yeah.
You asked me this last year or the year before that. Charles Soule probably would have been on my list.
Yeah.
I mean, Donny Cates isn't writing, but I would love to see Donny Cates come back into comics really bad. I mean, my pitch for a Donny Cates book was him and Ryan Stegman doing a What If run. That way he could kind of put a few stories together, maybe the way the animated show does.
Gonna be at New York Comic Con, and obviously, we got the big news of Null making the big screen appearance in Venom. So
yes.
Yeah, I miss Donny Cates. I would love to see him come back.
Same. I hope he can,
full
get
recovery,
back to comics once he's ready to come back.
Hey,
cool.
Leave a comment below. This is where we got to do the thing. Hey, leave a comment below. Who are some of your favorite art writers?
That's right.
Yeah. We could do that clean.
What would you like to see them do?
Yeah, no. Let us know what do you think of the writers we picked, and who are your favorite recent, like current comic book writers that you're really enjoying.
Who do we miss?
We'll publish our list too, but we'll do a follow-up probably next week or the next time we have a show with our artists, because we also had a list for artists. We just kind of ran out of time. So, all right, I don't want to take up anybody else's time if anybody's got a drop, but if anybody wants to stick around to talk to Manchurian,
I'm still here.
5 minutes.
All right, I'm out of here, guys.
You do it in 5 minutes. I can do it, but then I'll have to bolt.
Cool. Well, let me just pull up the quick thing. Slideshow. Yeah, this won't take too long.
So the Manchurian is an Image comic while Danny's pulling this up. Part of an initiative from I don't even know how to say his
don't
name.
either.
I don't know. I love looking at it and trying to say it.
Show.
Okay.
I've looked it up online. Hopefully that's correct. So yeah, we're going to
some of their work.
It's called the Horizon Experiment, right?
That's right.
Correct.
We're going to be talking about the Manchurian. Where's the thing? Here we go. So we're going to be talking about the Manchurian #1. Oh, what does it look like that? Gross. Hold on. Sorry, Jeff. Keep going.
It is. So it's the initiative of these. They're I think it's 5 one-shot books. I think is what it said.
Yeah.
The initiative being, what if we took these ideas from pop culture, these literary characters, like in this case James Bond, and we told them from a perspective of somebody who is not a white person.
That's right.
And what would that look like? And not just in a way where it's just we're just swapping out, white James Bond with black James Bond and everything else is the same. It's just they happen to be. But like, what does it really look like from that perspective? How would people interact with him in a real world scenario kind of thing?
Yeah.
And so they went from this kind of just discussion. That's what this whole black part of the comic.
Yeah, the mission statement here. I don't know if you can read it, but
but they were like, let's just publish it.
Yeah. So they're going to do 5 one-shots. The first one we're going to talk about right now, The Manchurian, is about a Chinese James Bond, but there'll be others about a Muslim John Constantine, a family of werewolves with East African descent, an Evil Dead for black nerds,
Love
and
that.
a reverse Indiana Jones, which I have no idea what that means.
I don't either. I'm like, what does that mean? Is it?
I mean, they're stealing from the museums and giving it back to the people.
Okay, that makes sense.
So this one is by Pornsack Pisha Show. I believe that's how you say that. Apologies if it's not. With art by Terry Dodson, inks by Rachel Dodson, and letters by Jeff Powell. So I am very excited. But so this is just the Chinese James Bond. There's really not a lot to the synopsis. Jeff, what did you think about this book?
I loved it. I can see where people like it was scary in the way that they kind of unveil how Chinese spy tactics work a little bit, where they're like Western spies just go and they'll send 1 or 2 people to go and get the job done. But they're like Chinese spies, they'll just send a whole bunch of people over to get tiny little bits of information, send all that information back to China, and then they'll put it together almost like a jigsaw puzzle to get the whole whatever. And they kind of break down how they're doing it. The story itself is about how one of these, as they call it, a grain of sand, just kind of tries to do a little bit more than what they're being asked to do and almost gets caught, whatever. And so the Chinese James Bond has to go in and this character has to go in and clean things up. It is interesting how they're all one shots, but they definitely set them up in case any of these things pop off where they're like, oh, we can keep going with this. But I really enjoyed it. It's it's just a great all around spy comic just from the jump. And you can tell that it is different from like other spy comics because it isn't like he's on this big one person mission and only he can do it. He's just trying to keep everything in line with how things are supposed to work. And then there's people above him also who have their own little tiny little things that they need to do. And he has to kind of work within that framework and whatnot.
Very complimentary.
But great artwork.
I mean, it doesn't get any more James Bond than this, which is a really fun way to kind of ease the audience into like, oh yeah, that's the shot of Bond getting out of the water and getting with the girl. But then that's where kind of they branch off. But Josh, what did you think about The Manchurian?
So I liked it. I love this entire concept. I love the idea that each of these one shots is kind of a pilot, and they're kind of like testing the water. I do love the idea of just, like you said, Jeff, it's not just, or Danny, I'm sorry, not just inverting the idea, but kind of really taking it to heart. My issue is this. I really enjoyed it, but then I got to the sneak preview of the next one and fell absolutely in love so much that it kind of diluted my impression of
You're supposed to stop reading.
No, I kept reading and I was just so enamored and infatuated with The Sacred Damned.
I'll send it to you. We have it.
Oh God, because I cannot wait. It looks so good. So that's the Muslim John Constantine.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to spoil anything, but the thing I love about it is very clearly riffing off of the original first issue of Hellblazer by Jamie Delano. If you think about what happens in that and what happens to a character in this, it's kind of playing off the same, I don't want to say idea, but the same kind of horror to a certain degree. I enjoyed the Manchurian. I thought it was great, but I would maybe argue don't put sneak previews that lengthy for the upcoming issue because it just totally took my attention away. So
I agree with Josh, not to get too far into the other comic, and weirdly, specifically because Danny pulled up this page, is that the thing about this comic is that it is so realistic about spy stuff that it can be like, if you're expecting like James Bond high action kind of stuff, you're not really going to get a whole lot of that, because it is kind of like boring spy stuff, but it is also like, it's not about the action, it's about like what the little pieces are doing. So
it's boring in a way that I think when you say boring, you mean like it's not the high action sequences that you would be expecting.
Right, exactly.
More like conversations, and I love how goofy this gets, like with the costumes.
Yeah, like, exactly.
Yeah, all the fake mustaches. I
feel like he's always wearing like a mustache or something every time he puts on like a costume. There's a sequence where they're speaking in code, and I was just like, how? I mean, obviously it's difficult, but like, how is this even code, or is this just like, yeah, this is what they mean, but like this isn't code. So that was really fun to kind of follow along. And then of course, as this asset, as they call them, kind of gets it starts getting out of hand. The assignment here, and I love that it keeps things very simple, right? When it's a bad guy or something, like they just call it, here's a problem, and then here's another problem. Like it's got these little fun. I think Dotson's actually probably the perfect person to kind of capture that humorous side to this.
Yeah.
Because anybody else would have probably gone a bit of a darker, more spy noir thriller type of thing. But with Dotson, it's all very lighthearted. His character designs are pretty funny. I love that mustache. It's so dumb and goofy. I also really enjoyed it. I actually stopped before reading the other one because But I'll send you guys the other one. I think we have a bunch of them already. So
I will admit I was a little confused going into it because I thought this was one book with a story of each of those. So when I got to that one, I was like, oh, right, this is the next story. And then it just abruptly ended. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? I want to know what happens. So,
So contrary to most books, I actually did read the intro that I put on here because I also wanted to fully understand the assignment of what they were doing with this.
Right.
So there you go. But yeah, highly recommend it. The Manchurian, I think it's going to be worth your time picking up. Any final comments on the Manchurian?
Yeah, I agree. It'll be worth it. All of them seem to be, though. They're going to be that way. They're really going to be great.
We might be talking about these for the next few weeks in the show as we kind of do reviews. So cool. All right. That's for the other video, so I can clip it out. And then for this one, thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you guys later. We'll come back, talk more about artists. So take it easy. And damn it, I should have pulled up the outro already. All right.
So keep on keeping on. Hit that like and subscribe button.
Thanks, Jeff. Bye.
The most important thing in life will always be
El Bebo.
Simon Center, get the fuck out.